One more thing I want to talk about now before we end this. Have you seen the Barbie movie yet? I saw it last week. And I also saw that Ben Shapiro did a 42-minute long rant about the Barbie movie. And I really, really wanted to make a video about it when it came out, but I didn't want to watch it without actually seeing the Barbie movie first. So I finally got up off my ass and went and watched it. And I thought it was pretty good. It is way better than a movie based on a doll, on a children's toy, in particular Barbie. The Barbie movie is way better than any movie based on Barbie has a right to be. It was surprisingly poignant, topical, and also very, very well written, and had a very important message. At least I thought. So, yeah, I enjoyed it pretty much. It was very good. In fact, I'm thinking I might see it again if a couple of friends of mine haven't seen it yet. I'm willing to actually go watch it twice. There are very few movies that I actually will see twice in a theater. And I think this one deserves it, right? But I want to see what Ben Shapiro has to say about it because, you know, he is a little wiggly worm of a man. Let's move this down here. Let's see what the wormy man has to say about the Barbie movie. Let's make that a little small. Make this larger like that. Ben Shapiro destroys the Barbie movie for 43 minutes. I like how he's bragging about that. I see that Ben Shapiro has a punk rock Barbie kind of holding it in his hand down here. I also see that he has not shaved recently. I really think that he's trying to grow the beard thing because he thinks it makes him look more manly and less like Sheldon from fucking Big Bang Theory. Which is what Ben Shapiro really looks like. Ben Shapiro looks like a... He looks like a sort of... like you know what Ben Shapiro looks like? Ben Shapiro looks like Pee Wee Herman if Pee Wee Herman decided to try to look tough. That's what Ben Shapiro looks like. And it's like, no, you weigh 97 pounds. You will always weigh 97 pounds no matter how much you work out. They're always going to make fun of you, Ben. You're always going to be the towel boy at the basketball game, Ben. You will never actually be the star quarterback or whatever. Anyway, enough of making fun of what he looks like. Let's actually listen to what the man has to say.
Well, folks, I just got back from the theaters seeing Barbie and Oppenheimer. I'm about to review both of them. I'm going to tell you which one of these is the best blockbuster of 2023 and which one is maybe the worst.
I bet he loved our movie, right, Ken?
For those of you who...
What the fuck was that? Was that supposed to be funny? I bet he loved that movie. Okay. Ben Shapiro, don't try to be funny. You're not funny. You have zero comedic timing. Your jokes don't land because conservatism is not funny. Conservatism, when it tries to be funny, is pathetic. So, let's skip ahead to where he actually talks about the damn movie, please. Okay, Ben reviews Barbie, blah, blah, blah.
I have thoughts. This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Let me begin with my generalized assessment of the movie. This movie is not just a piece of shit. This movie is a flaming piece of dog shit piled atop an entire dumpster on fire, piled atop a landfill filled with dog shit.
Okay.
It is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. On every possible level, it is a horrific movie. The only thing that can be said for this film is production design. The production design is really nice.
Keep in mind, folks, Ben Shapiro is a failed screenwriter. That was like his dream career was to be a screenwriter. See, out here in Los Angeles, right, you're either an actor or a director or something. Like, that's what everybody wants to be. Everybody wants to be an actor. They want to be a director. They want to be a star. And when you don't have any talent, for either of those things, then you decide, okay, I'm going to be a screenwriter. Right? When you realize that you have an on-screen presence of like an adolescent boy who just got caught like stealing his dad's Playboys or whatever. When you look like the little nerdy dude in the back of the bus who like eats Jello like with his fingers and shit. When that's you, when you're like the kid in fourth grade who's always perpetually getting his head dunked into the toilet every recess and shit, that's what you end up doing. You realize, okay, I'm never going to be an actor, and people will not respect me enough to take direction from me, so I might as well be a screenwriter. And remember, Ben Shapiro failed as a screenwriter. Couldn't hack it. So him saying that this is the worst movie ever written or whatever, ever movie all made, can't really take that criticism well. Because you're rich, Ben Shapiro. You're rich, and you could make your own movies. In fact, the movies you have made are steaming piles of shit. Like that stupid fucking Western movie with the fucking MMA fighter woman who got like fired from like The Mandalorian. You guys heard about that? Like, what's her name? I can't remember her name. Whatever, the Mandalorian lady got fired because she was like a MAGA bitch and said some stupid shit on Twitter or something. And so she got fired. And then Ben Shapiro made like this fucking like some kind of settler movie trying to say like, you know, how the West was won kind of movie, like kind of sort of thing. And it was like a giant steaming pile of horse shit. It's like, we already seen what the kind of shit you have on the shelf, Ben. So don't be criticizing other movies that make $1 billion over your fucking like ridiculous like pile of crap. Anyway, let's see.
Costumes are really nice. Also, it's really hard to screw that up. It's really hard to screw that up because you literally have this to model after. All you have to do is this, but big. Okay? It's really not tough. But put aside all of the beautiful costumes, which is there for the ladies, and all of the production design and the Barbie universe and all of that. Every joke that happens in this film happens basically within the first 45 seconds of the film. So, for example, Barbie turns on the water and there's no water. Ooh, because, you know, like in Barbie house, there's no actual water. Do you get it? And then she drinks, but there's no actual liquid in the actual cup. Oh my God, because she's a Barbie doll. Oh, I get it. Okay, that's all the jokes. There are no more jokes for the rest of the film.
That's not true at all. There are tons and tons and tons of jokes through the whole movie. I'm coming into this blind, so I don't really know what this asshole is saying. But what he's saying here is not true. It's like, yes, there are some jokes at the beginning, but the movie is hilarious. Like, it's genuinely hilarious. So, I don't know what the fuck he's coming out. I think maybe he's saying, oh, the rest of the jokes weren't funny because they're political or something. Is that what he's going to say? Probably, that's probably going to be it because Ben Shapiro's a fucking hack. But suffice to say, folks, no, that's not true what he just said. That's dumb, and it's because Ben Shapiro doesn't have any idea what actual humor really is.
The movie's a show. Okay, so conceptually, the movie is a show. I want to ask this. Who is the intended audience for this film? Who's the intended audience for this film? So I'll tell you who the intended audience for this film is, and I can tell two ways. One, the previews on the film, and two, the people in the audience. So the intended audience for this film is moms and their 8-year-old daughters. That's the intended audience for the film. I know because the previews for the film were all kids' movies. I'm talking like G or PG rated kids' films. We're talking like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Trolls 4 or whatever it is. Those were all the previews, right? All the previews are actually directed at what the audience is supposed to be for this film. And if you look in the audience, it's a bunch of moms, like youngish moms, middle-aged moms, with their like 6, 7, 8-year-old girls.
Okay. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Trolls are directed, they're not specifically kids' movies. No. So these sort of pop culture blockbusters that we have that are based on toys and stuff like that are not specifically for kids. They are for families. That is to say, they're very much more for adults than they are for the children. Kids don't care about toys anymore. I don't know if you noticed that. Kids, what you know what kids care about? Kids care about things like Pokemon and like Fortnite and that kind of thing. So why would they give a shit about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? No, no, no. What a movie like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or the Troll movie or even Disney movies, things like the live action Little Mermaid, stuff like that. Those are movies for families, for an entire family to go to, so that the parents can enjoy it and the child can enjoy it as well. And the kids, taking Ninja Turtles as an example, the kids get to go to see talking turtles and mutants fight each other, blah, blah, blah. The parents get to go because it's nostalgia, because Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a franchise which is over 30 years old at this point. Is it 30 years old? 1984, just about 30 years old, 29 years. Yeah, no, it's this 30 years. No, it's 29 years. Anyway, whatever, right? No, it's 38 years old, isn't it? Is when Ninja Turtles came out, 1984. Anyway, long story short, it's not just kids' movies. And the thing is, the Barbie movie is not just a kids' movie either. The Barbie movie is a family, centered comedy for, your entire family to go. That's what maybe this is why Ben Shapiro was such a fucking failure, because he doesn't even understand, how genres of movies work nowadays, right? Maybe that's what it is. See, when it costs you $20 to go to a movie like it does nowadays, then you can't go to the movies every week like you used to, right? Back in the day when it was $3, $4, $5 to go to a movie, you could go all the time. And I know for some of you young kids out there today, you probably never experienced that. You probably don't know what that was like. But yeah, that's what it was back in the day, back in the 80s and the 90s. When you wanted to go to the movies, it was extremely cheap. There were even dollar theaters. You could literally go to the movies for $1. Not like that anymore, right? You go to the movies now, it's $20, $25. Maybe if you go to a matinee, it might be $13. But if you're going with your entire family, that shit can add up. Let's say $20 a person, family of four. That's $80 to go to a movie. And then, then you got to get popcorn and shit and drinks and everything. And, movie theater prices are, astronomical. They're through the damn roof. So that's another $100 just on food that you're buying. And, you're not going to bring your kid to the movies without getting them popcorn and candy and some Milk Duds and shit. This shit adds up. So now it's a major undertaking to go to the movies. This is why, by the way, when you go to a theater nowadays, most movie theaters are super nice now and they have recliners and all that shit. Because they have to justify the price. Because if you can just stay at home and watch pretty much every movie ever made streaming on one app or another, then how do you justify spending $60 to $100, depending on how many people are in your group, to go out to a theater? Especially nowadays when it's going to be streaming literally a month later. So why not just wait 30 days and watch it at home? So this is why you see so many family-friendly blockbusters. This is why Marvel movies are violent, but they're not that violent, right? This is why you don't see Thanos ripping somebody's guts out, for example, when he's fighting Captain America or something. He's not ripping them limb from limb kind of thing like that. This is why you see things like Indiana Jones and lots of sort of big summer tent blockbusters that have large mass market appeal, which are they have action in them. But in Indiana Jones, especially the last two, you notice in this last Indiana Jones movie, nobody's face was getting melted off in this movie. Did you notice that? Did you guys see the last Indiana Jones? There was it wasn't like Raiders of the Lost Ark where there were ghosts and people's faces getting melted off, or even the second one, Temple of Doom, where people's hearts were getting ripped out, and children were being sacrificed by dropping them into lava. None of that shit happened in this last Indiana Jones. There was a lot of like fighting and stuff and guns going off and explosions and machine guns and people punching Nazis, which is always awesome. That kind of thing. But it wasn't like gory like the last ones were. You know, nobody was turning into a corpse and then drying up and blowing away in the wind. Because they're keeping it family friendly. And they're keeping it family friendly because they know those are the people that go to movies nowadays, right? So that's what this movie was made for. No, the movie was not made for 8-year-old girls. I mean, yes, it's made for girls, the movie. But it wasn't, this is not a children's movie. Not any more than any particular Marvel movie is a children's movie. Or Indiana Jones is a children's movie. Or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a children's movie. No, they're not children's movies. He's fun. This is why this guy is an idiot. You know, this is why he's an idiot and a failure in his own movie making endeavors. Keep that in mind. Moving on.
That's the entire crew. This movie is not made for any of those people. In fact, this movie is made for no one. This movie is going to make a bunch of money week one because the marketing effort has been extraordinary. I mean, whoever's the marketing team over at Warner Brothers is doing an amazing job. Week one, this thing is going to clean up at the domestic box office. My prediction is going to just absolutely fall off a cliff after that. The repeat business on this movie is going to be non-existent because it was written by two people who are so smug and self-satisfied, in Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, that they have no audience. I mean, like, who thought it's a great idea? Let's bring on the people who wrote Lady Bird and Marriage Story to make a movie about a plastic doll that is generally played with by 5 to 9-year-old young girls.
Let's just take a look at that, by the way. Now, I know I'm not the first person to point this out, but let's go in here and let's look for, let's see, Barbie Box Office Mojo. The repeat business is not going to be good. Huh? That's Ben Shapiro's prediction. Grosses domestic, $502,609,000. International, $574,200,000 with a worldwide total of $1,076,809,000. Yep. Go woke, go broke, right, folks? I guess Ben Shapiro's career as a psychic is not going to do too well. Let's make this small again because we're going back to the small wormy man to listen to what he has to say.
So the basic idea of the film, they really have no basic idea of the film. They don't know whether they hate Barbie or that we're supposed to kind of like Barbie. It seems they kind of despise Barbie as a fascist emblem, as we'll get to. The basic sort of premise of the film, politically speaking, is that men and women are on two sides of the divide and they hate each other. And literally the only way you can have a happy world.
All right, first off, no, in the movie, Barbie is not seen as a fascist emblem. That's not true at all. I don't even know. He's just pulling that out of his ass. There is zero like subtext of Barbie being a fascist, like at all, in this movie. Some movies do have that fascist subtext. Some of them do it on purpose. Something like, say, Starship Troopers comes to mind. That movie's got a fascist subtext to it, it's on purpose. It's to kind of show the good guys are the bad guys, really. You know, you ever seen Starship Troopers? Excellent movie. Barbie has nothing like that at all, especially when it comes to the Barbies. Like, what it is there's Barbie land, and the Barbies are the women, and they're in charge because it's Barbie land. And it's like, well, the Kens are the guys, and the Kens are not in charge because they're Ken. And it's not about Ken, it's about Barbie, right? Because that's what the toy line is for. Right? So what does he mean? Where's the fascist part come in? It's not like, the Barbies are taking all the Kens and putting them in concentration camps and making them work and stuff for the war effort or whatever, and then fucking gassing them afterwards in some kind of like final Ken solution. Like, that shit's not happening. right? The Barbies don't commit genocide against the Kens, so he just literally just made that up. He just made that up. It has no basis in fucking reality. He just pulled it right out of his ass, and I don't know. I think he just threw that in there because he had to like somehow equate feminism with fascism. I think is what he's trying to do, because there is a pretty pro-feminist message in this movie. I mean, how the fuck could you not have a Barbie movie that has a feminine, that, like, why you couldn't write a Barbie movie without a pro-feminist message? I mean, seriously, folks, it's a fucking Barbie movie. That's the whole point of Barbie, by the way, is that it was a pro-feminist message, right? That's the whole point of Barbie, is to show that women can do anything. We girls can do anything, right, Barbie? That was the fucking slogan for Barbie for like 30 years. We girls can do anything, right, Barbie? That's the whole point. That's why Barbie has like 17 jobs. She's an astronaut, she's the president, she's a cook, she's a businesswoman, she's a policewoman, she's every single thing that young girls imagine themselves doing. That's why Barbie has so many different outfits, why she has so many different jobs, because the whole point of Barbie is role play. So the little girl playing with Barbie can imagine that she's actually Barbie herself. The entire point of Barbie is to imagine that the young girl can do anything she wants. That was the entire idea behind it in the first place. So where does the fascism part come in? I don't understand that. Fucking stupid. Moving on.
Is if the women ignore the men and the men ignore the women. That seems to be the final outcome of this film. I was trying to separate this into problems with plot and problems with character and problems.
Okay, let's listen to that one more time, because that was kind of stupid. So what did he just say?
So the basic idea of the film, they really have no basic idea of the film. They don't know whether they hate Barbie or that we're supposed to kind of like Barbie. It seems they kind of despise Barbie as a fascist emblem, as we'll get to. The basic sort of premise of the film, politically speaking, is that men and women are on two sides of the divide, and they hate each other. And literally the only way you can have a happy world is if the women ignore the men and the men ignore the women. That seems to be the final outcome of this film. I was trying...
That's not what the film is about at all. The film has nothing to do with that at all. What it really has to do with is inequality. The message that he's discussing right there. I mean, it has a lot to do with lots of stuff. Basically, it's a message about our society and gender roles and all that other shit. But what he's failing to understand there is that the actual message of the movie is about basically equality. Because in the movie, the Kens are not equal to the Barbies. Right? They're not equal to them. And there's a line at the beginning where Barbie and Ken, so all the men are called Ken and all the women are called Barbie, right? And there's a line where, Ryan Gosling Ken, Beach Ken, wants to stay over at Barbie's house because he's in love with Barbie and Barbie's not into him. Margot Robbie Barbie, she's generic Barbie. And Margot Robbie says to him, well, you have to leave because it is Barbie's dream house, not Ken's dream house. And tonight is girls' night. And so then Ken leaves. And what does that mean? It's inequality is the message. The Kens don't have anything. Everything belongs to the Barbies. Then what happens is that Ken goes to the real world and he discovers what the patriarchy is, right? And what it is that a woman asks him what time it is, and he is like incredibly just like jazzed over that because a woman shows him respect. And so then he's like, oh my God, I can't believe that a woman asked me what time it was, that she respected me so much to get my opinion on the time. So then he goes into like a school library and he learns what the patriarchy is. And then he learns that the patriarchy doesn't actually work for him if you're just a lazy piece of shit. So then he goes. There's a scene. It's in one of the previews where Ken goes to this place and says, "Yeah, I want a job. I'd like to be an executive." And then the guy running the place says, "Well, you have to have some experience and an education." And he goes, "Well, what if I don't want those things? What if I just want to get a job because I'm a man?" And then the guy basically tells him to go piss up a rope. And then the executive guy, looks at him and says, "Yeah, well, we still do patriarchy. We just hide it better." And that's the message. Is that, that's the message of the movie. It's like, yes, there is such a thing as patriarchy. Yes, it exists. But it's just hidden. Because that's what it's really like out there, folks. Right? And I think it's pretty poignant. I think it's pretty spot on. Spot on social commentary for what's really going on in the world. Ben Shapiro doesn't understand this because he's a moron. He doesn't get it. All he sees is that, the Barbies are mean to the Kens. It just means men and women can't get along. No, you fucking idiot. The movie is reversing the trope. Barbie Land is a matriarchy instead of a patriarchy. You fucking moron. And it's basically showing the Kens are treated in Barbie Land how women are treated in real life. In the real world. Moving on.
Trying to separate this into problems with plot and problems with character and problems with the politics of the film, but they're all intertwined because the thing is just a mess. It doesn't make any sense. Plot-wise, it makes no sense. Character-wise, it makes no sense. So let's just go through it from the beginning. Okay, there's going to be lots of spoilers, but believe you me, I'm about to save you so much time because this movie is 2 hours. It feels like it is longer than the Wagnerian ring cycle. It does not end. Every scene is at least
Just
2 minutes too
fucking get
long.
on with
Every
it,
single
please.
scene, every beat is 2 minutes too long. It is a bad film.
The exact opposite of what he's saying is true, by the way. It's not a bad film. It actually, yes, it is long, and it feels like it's not long enough. And that's how you know when there's an actual good film that you enjoy, like Lord of the Rings or something like that. Like, you ever have a movie that was super duper long, and then by the time it was over, like, you didn't want it to end? Like Avengers Endgame is like that. It's like, oh, fuck, it's over, damn. Oh, wow, that was 3 hours long, I didn't even notice. That's what the Barbie movie's like. It's like, no, you're not praying for the shit to end. You're just like, by the time it's over, you're like, wow, it's already, that was really that long? I didn't even notice it was that long. So, he's completely full of shit here. So far, I haven't actually heard any actual justification for any of this criticism. So far, it's just been Ben Shapiro talking out of his ass like he usually talks out of his ass. So I would like to actually hear him justify some of this. And I think what we need to do is actually change this to 1.5 speed, right? Because it'll take us fucking a year to get through it. And also, Ben Shapiro talks so fast anyway that I don't think it'll ruin his delivery if we change it to 1.5 speed. So let's continue on.
Put aside the politics. Really, I was sitting there with a bunch of my producers. I'm a little bit more political than my producers. My producers were watching this, putting the politics aside. It is a bad movie. So why is it getting 91% on Rotten Tomatoes? Because the way that it works for the reviewers is if you have the right politics, and those politics are sufficiently slyly inserted, then it will get a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, even if the thing is just wreck.
That's bullshit. All right, no, that's bullshit. Now, all right. Let me qualify that. I'm not going to say that people don't vote for movies based on their politics, because they do. In particular, right-wingers tend to do that. Right-wingers will take a piece of shit movie like something like The Sound of Freedom or whatever, or whatever dumbass fucking, what's that other stupid fucking, whatever like stupid fucking movie that, right-wingers are like supporting nowadays, the some Jesus movie comes out or whatever. And even if it's a steaming pile of dog shit, they'll still go up and give it like positive rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So I'm not going to say people don't do that, because they do. But no, every single movie that has a somewhat progressive message doesn't automatically get an awesome rating on Rotten Tomatoes. If anything, what happens is that people will come and downvote it on purpose because the movie's too woke. That's what'll happen. You see this kind of brigading happening all the time. They did it to Captain Marvel. They do it to like pretty much every Marvel movie now that actually has people who aren't white in it. Try to do it to Wakanda Forever and the Captain America show where like the guy that plays the Falcon is like the new Captain America. Like they try to brigade those stuff like that. So yeah, Ben Shapiro's full of shit. The thing is there's not even that many politics in the movie. Like there's commentary on gender roles in the movie. In particular when it comes to women and what they're expected to do. And I think very, very well done commentary. Very true to life, poignant commentary. And I think that's why Ben Shapiro doesn't hates it so much. Because when you actually have actual professional writers that know how to craft a story and they put politics into it, you know what happens? You don't notice the politics. That's when a real writer who actually knows what they're doing and has talent and isn't a fucking dumb shit hack like Ben Shapiro, when they make a movie and you get the message without it being shoved in your face, unlike his steaming piece of shit Western. Anyway, moving on.
And I mean, boy, is this Drek. This is a Death Star-sized piece of Drek. It is like, that's no moon. That's a Drek station. That is this movie. Okay, so let's...
Very, very funny joke. Ha ha ha. Fucking stupid. Is he going to tell us why it's bad? So far I've heard him just complaining a lot. This is what Ben Shapiro always does. He doesn't actually explain himself when he talks. He just says, this thing sucks, or this is woke, or this is horrible, blah, 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 blah. But he never actually, gives any reason or explanation for any of that. So is he going to actually tell us what's wrong with the movie and why it's so horrible and why it's so bad? I'm going to make a prediction, folks. I have not seen this. I have not watched ahead in this. I'm going to predict that we're not going to actually get any rational analysis for why it's bad beyond it's woke. That's what I'm going to hear. That's what I'm predicting. He's not going to actually say, oh, well, this scene was bad because of XYZ, or that could have been done better, or this part doesn't make sense because there's continuity errors. No, he's not going to say any shit like that whatsoever. He's going to be like, this was too woke and blah, blah, blah. That's why he's going to say it's bad. And I bet you the other 90% of the time, he's not going to give any explanation at all. He's just going to say, it sucks, with no, analysis as to why it sucks. Let's see if I'm right.
Jump into it. I have pages and pages of notes on this horrific piece of... I mean, my goodness. Okay, so let's start right at the beginning.
Okay,
so
let's hear
from the beginning, you know
notes,
what this movie is going to be, and it's going to be a very cynical take on what Barbie is, which is so weird. I don't know why Mattel would turn over its IP to filmmakers who clearly hate the IP. It's as though you were going to make Toy Story, except that toys are all evil. They're all bad, and you're supposed to hate them and you should burn them.
That's not at all. The filmmakers do not hate Barbie. They celebrate Barbie. I think he's interpreting a cynical, there's one girl in the movie who's cynical, and is he trying to say that she hates Barbie? I mean, yeah, kind of, because that's her character. See, it's called a character, you fucking idiot. That doesn't mean that, just because you have a character, let's, for example, if you have a character who's a rapist, and he's a villain or something, that doesn't mean the filmmakers love rape. You know what I mean? It's no, the villain is doing... if you have a character who's racist, that doesn't mean the filmmakers support racism. Especially if that character is a villain or something, or that character is supposed to be an asshole or whatever, then it's no. Characters are allowed to have negative traits. That's what makes them characters. So, there's a girl who actually has there's a girl in the movie who's a bully, and actually has negative traits because she's a cynical teenager. When teenagers hit that age where they think they think they know everything, and they realize that, oh, I've been lied to my entire life. So they think that they're super fucking edgy and all that stuff, and they think they know everything, and they're hyper critical of anything that exists, especially stuff that their parents love. We all go through that phase, right? There's a girl in this movie that's actually going through that phase, and she criticizes Barbie, and her criticisms are justified. She says basically Barbie's a tool of the patriarchy, which is a perfectly valid criticism, and Barbie's another tool for capitalism and blah 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 blah, which is a perfectly valid criticism. Barbie, because that's what Barbie kind of is. Barbie represents to girls, in one sense, Barbie represents to little girls that all you have to do is buy the house and the car and all this shit, and you can be happy. In one, that is a valid criticism of Barbie. Now, you could turn right around and say, well, no, Barbie also says that you can have all of these things if you want them and you work for them. Because you also notice Barbie is not relying on Ken to get any of her material possessions. Barbie's the one with the job. And this movie actually nails that home. It makes a point of that. Ryan Gosling's Ken in this movie is the beach Ken. Beach is not an occupation. It's not like it's Dr. Ken or, construction worker Ken or policeman Ken or something like that. It's beach Ken. Ken hangs out at the beach. Barbie's the one who is the doctor and the president. And, in Barbie Land, the Barbies, the women are the ones who have all of the jobs. The Kens just sort of hang around and do kind of superficial man stuff that 8-year-old girls think men do. They hang out at the beach and they look fine. Right? Kind of a subversion of gender roles. That's what people like Ben Shapiro want, except they want it the other way around. They want all the men to have all the work and to have all the power, and for the women just to stay home and look pretty. I suspect that's why Ben Shapiro doesn't like it so much. Moving on. But maybe I'm reading into his comments. Let's just listen what the man has to say.
Because that's kind of the message of the film, is that the Barbies are bad for the world. Okay, so it begins by trying to uphold the original vision of Barbie. What was the original magical vision of Barbie?
No, it is not. The message is not the Barbies are bad for the world. He's pulling that out of his asshole.
We have Helen Mirren here to tell us, in the form of a narrator apparently played by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who's speaking from heaven. And we get a 2001 A Space Odyssey flashback. Which again, who's the audience for this? If the reference points in this film, it references variously Marcel Proust. It references Robert Evans and the cinematography of Godfather. It references 2001 A Space Odyssey. This is a movie made for moms and their 7-year-old girls.
It's made for adults, you fucking idiot. That sequence is made for adults. And guess what, moron? Children will laugh at it as well. You know why? Because it's funny. And yes, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old girl who's in grade school sees that scene is not going to understand what's going on. But it doesn't matter because it's still funny. See, this guy doesn't understand. Now, I mean, does he really not understand that movies are made for families nowadays? That kids, quote-unquote kids movies, like the Barbie movies, like Transformers, like G.I. Joe, and any of these other franchises, does he really not understand that they're made for adults? People my age are the ones going and seeing these movies. I'm in my 40s. We're the ones going to the Transformers movies. We're the ones who are going to see, G.I. Joe or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Captain America or the Avengers. We're the ones that are going to these things. Kids don't give a fuck about this stuff. Kids like whatever's there. Whatever toy aisle is in the Target toy section. Those are the toys they want. They don't give a fuck what they are. You buy them some fucking shiny plastic toy thing and they play with it. And then, you know what? They'll like it because you buy it for them. So, no. It's for the adults. You fucking idiot. That's the whole point behind all of this. So people can go out to... Does he really not understand that? I mean, I don't know. Maybe not.
Folks, wasting 2 hours of my precious time, 2 hours I will never get back. 2 hours on my deathbed I will wish that I had not spent that time doing. Makes me viscerally angry. But I'm going to talk to you about...
Yeah, nobody put a gun to your head and made you watch the movie, you fucking moron.
Something that makes me much happier. And that is our trusted privacy.
Yeah, fuck you. Going past no fucking time for your stupid ass to express VPN, whatever. Fuck you.
It starts with Helen Mirren explaining that back in the day, girls would only play with dolls that look like babies. And then she says that this could be fun, at least for a while anyway. Ask your mother, because your mother actually hates you and doesn't like being a mom, you see. So if you ask your mom, she wants to play at not being a mom sometimes. Okay, so the basic premise is...
Yes. He is correct there. Ask your mom, because your mom does not always like being a mom. I understand that idea may be incredibly weird and foreign to somebody like Ben Shapiro. that women may enjoy doing other things than just being mothers. He doesn't understand that because in his worldview, that's the only thing women are good for. Because Ben Shapiro is like one step above an incel, if you guys didn't know that. He is. He's literally like, he believes in all the same shit that incels believe. Just, in a more well-worded fashion. All the same stupid, ridiculous, conservative gender role horseshit that you get from people like Andrew Tate. You also get from Ben Shapiro. He's just more traditional about it. Because it's all, really what it is traditional religious conservatism. That's all the incel shit is. Right? Just said in a much more vile manner. So, yeah, I understand that Ben Shapiro doesn't get in his head that there are women who want to do things besides just be mothers. That there are little girls who like to play with toys that are not just babies. Here's a perfect example. Masters of the Universe. Those of you out there who watch my channel probably know that I'm a super gigantic fan of Masters of the Universe. I love He-Man. That was my jam when I was a little kid, was He-Man. I had all of them, and I'm slowly buying them all back now, because that's what you get to do when you're middle-aged and going through midlife crisis. Some guys go out and buy a new sports car and go parasailing. And some guys go out and buy Masters of the Universe toys. And He-Man Masters of the Universe Origins are back. The Origins toys are the best fucking toys ever made. I don't know about it. Anyway, that's a different story. But here's the point. Back in the 80s even, 40% of the kids playing with Masters of the Universe were girls. So, and it wasn't just girls playing with their big brother's toys. It was girls requesting Masters of the Universe toys so that they could play with them themselves. That's what it was. So, why do you think they made She-Ra? Because almost half of the kids playing with the toys were girls. So they made some toys specifically for the girls. That's how it works. This is why Target took out the boys and girls sections. They used to have them labeled. If you go into a Target, you just have rows of toys. And yes, all of the girls' toys are in one row and all the boys' toys are in another row. Right? But they took off the signs there because plenty of girls like to go into the boys section and buy toys. You know why? Because boys' toys are awesome. Because girls also want to be soldiers. They also want to be ninjas. They also want to be monster ranchers. Or they want to be ninjas, Ninja Turtles, or whatever. Girls are into things like sports cars and like sci-fi, and all the shit that little boys like. Gross stuff. Girls like gross stuff too. They do. And you know what? Even some boys might buy some of the girls' toys once in a while. It is a thing that happens. It's not as prevalent as girls buying boys' toys. You know why? Because all the girls' toys are all super gender coded. And they're all pink and they all have dolls and houses and stuff like that. And less boys are into those kinds of things. You know why? Because they're not as cool as explosions and shit like that. So more girls buy boys' toys than boys who buy girls' toys. And that's just how it is. The boys' toys are better. That's why. This is why this happens, because the boys' toys are better, they're marketed better, they look better, they're more awesome. Everybody likes action. Everybody likes karate and kung fu and like stuff blowing up. Women included. Even little girls like that stuff. Not as much, but they do. This is why your whole family can go see an Avengers movie and get into it. Even though there's only like 2 women in the cast, there's only like Scarlet, since there's only like 2 girls in the whole fucking like Avengers lineup, like Scarlet Witch and like fucking, Black Widow or whatever, and that's it. But they still can enjoy it and have a good time because everybody likes ass kicking, regardless of your gender, right? Not everybody likes tea parties with little baby dolls. Plenty of women do like that. Plenty of girls do like that. But that's the difference. All of the girls' toys are about role-playing. Every single one. Go to the toy store and take a look at girls' toys. Every single one of them is about role-playing. They're all about having fun with like your ponies and all that shit and pretending to have a tea party or pretending to, all of the dolls, the doll we're looking at here, it's all about pretending to be a mother, putting the diaper on the kid and all this other shit and feeding them and walking them and blah, blah, blah. And, oh, look, baby wet herself, whatever, crap like that. All of the boys' toys are about role playing, but more of with awesome franchises with like monsters and robots and cyborgs and like machine guns and kung fu and stuff blowing up. And it's just, which one of those? I mean, imagine you're a kid. Don't even imagine you're a boy or a girl. Just imagine you're a kid. And you have a Godzilla movie, and then you have like Baby Wet Herself. Which one of those are you going to get? Okay. No, Godzilla is 10 times cooler than Baby Wet Herself. And that's just how it is. So 10 times more children in general are going to go to the Godzilla toy than they are to the Baby Wet Herself thing. So that's just the truth. And Ben Shapiro doesn't know that because Ben Shapiro's an idiot. And he just thinks in these binary sort of black and white, one or the other kind of things. Where it's like, obviously girls must play with girl toys and boys must play with boy toys. Because he's a moron. That's why. Moving on. Okay, I'm going off on tangents and shit here. I'm going to let the man talk for a little bit before I start talking some more. Moving on.
Barbie is supposed to be the independent woman who liberates all womanhood, but she fails. And she fails for two reasons. One, she's actually a tool of the patriarchal capitalist system. And two, the real world has rejected the message of Barbie, which is that women should run everything. Okay, so this is all not implicit. This is explicitly said. At the beginning, the monologue, you have Helen Mirren saying, because...
All right, that first part, what he said is actually true. Because Barbie is a tool of the patriarchy. That's true. And the movie actually does say that. The second part where the women should run everything, no. The movie does not say that. It does not imply that at all. In fact, it gives the opposite message from that. It does not say women should run everything. It uses the allegory of the Kens not owning anything, not being in charge of anything, for toxic gender roles. It's basically, it depicts the Kens in Barbie Land as being treated the same way that women in real life are treated. That's what it is. It's called allegory. And it doesn't surprise me at all that Ben Shapiro doesn't understand what allegory is, because he is a hack writer who has never written an actual movie, never produced an actual movie that was worth two shits. Right? Because he's a hack. He's a hack and a fucking like conservative moron who like doesn't understand what fucking symbolism is.
Barbie can be anything, women can be anything. At least that's what the Barbies think. See, in the real world, women can't be anything. That's one of the messages of the film. In the real world, men run pretty much everything, which is weird. Who greenlit this piece of shit? I mean, Greta Gerwig is a lady. She's making a good living off of this. Margot Robbie is playing the lead. In fact, the entire cast, aside from basically Ryan Gosling, is women. So
that's exactly right. That's right. What he just said. Let's rewind that, because Ben Shapiro was correct. Holy crap. He is correct. Let us listen to what he said.
And two, the real world has rejected the message of Barbie, which is that women should run everything. Okay, so
no, that's
this is all not
right here.
implicit. This is explicitly said. At the beginning, the monologue, you have Helen Mirren saying, because Barbie can be anything, women can be anything. At least that's what the Barbies think. See, in the real world, women can't be anything. That's one of the messages of the film. In the real world.
Yes. That is absolutely right. That's because that's what it's like in real life. That's what it's like in real life. Women are subject to patriarchy. And patriarchy prevents women from attaining any social equality with men. In the movie, when they go to Mattel headquarters, there are no women on the board of directors. And Barbie says, "Oh, well, who's in charge of Barbie?" Expecting there to be a woman there, and there's no women there. It's like, it's just another guy who's in charge, another man. Everything, like the entire board is just filled with men. All of the employees in Mattel, they're all men. And it's sort of the exact opposite of what Barbie is expecting. It's Barbie, because Barbie thinks that she, as Barbie, has like helped women, like helped save the world. Like that's what they think. Like all the Barbies think that, oh, we've shown girls that they can do anything. It's like they're like aware that they're toys, kind of, sort of. It's weird. It doesn't make any. It's not supposed to make sense. That's the thing. It's like don't try to make sense of it. And the movie even kind of tells you, like it says, it doesn't matter. Don't try to think about how Barbie Land exists or what the relationship between the actual Barbies as toys to human girls are. Like they know that they're toys, whatever. And the movie just basically says, don't think too hard about it. Right. It's all symbolic. So don't try to nerd out and think, is this an alternate universe or whatever? It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. But that's what it actually, yes, it actually says, because that's true in real life. There is a glass ceiling in real life. And yes, you do see female CEOs, you do see famous rich women, but on average, what is a 86% disparity in pay between women and men? Something like that. There is very much a pay gap still. The pay gap thing is not something that went away. And yeah, you hear, the conservative response to that is that, oh, well, women just take jobs that make less. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. That is basically a bullshit excuse. Women don't work as hard. That's what the conservative response to that is. Oh, they're not working as hard or as smart as men. Yeah, okay. That is a load of fucking crap. Women work just as hard as men do in every industry. And yet, this is a metric that has gotten a lot better over the last 30 years. But it's not there just yet. I can tell you one sort of sector of our society where it's not even close. And that's in government. There are far more male, lawmakers in positions of power around this country who are making decisions for women when it comes to women's health, for example, than the other way around. You're not seeing councils of special congressional hearings and stuff filled with women trying to pass laws that will like take away men's reproductive rights, for example. That's just not a thing that's happening. So, yes, it is better. There are female CEOs. There are women who are in power who make billions of dollars, who have managed to claw their way to the top of patriarchy. That is definitely a thing that exists. But don't try to claim that means there's no disparity in our society, because that's just not true. Moving on.
Men run pretty much everything, which is weird. Who greenlit this piece of shit?
Men
I mean,
run
Greta Gerwig is a lady. She's making a good living off of this. Margot Robbie is playing the lead. In fact, the entire cast, aside from basically Ryan Gosling, is women. So it seems like women are doing okay. But again, put aside the meta logic of it. I'm going to go through like a lot of beats here. So it starts off with the idea that
that's a dumb fucking, all the cast in this movie are women, so women are doing okay. It's like, that's the kind of like, remember Ben Shapiro is supposed to be an intellectual. He's supposed to be smart. That reminds me of his stupid fucking take about like, global warming is nothing, just turn on your air conditioning. Remember, like, I made a video about that last week, that dumb fucking take that he had about, literally the hottest month ever recorded in human history, and all you got to do is just turn on your air conditioning and it's like he doesn't even try. How can anybody watch this guy and think this guy's smart when he just says the dumbest fucking shit ever? Like, is it because the average viewer of his just has like a super duper low IQ? Or I suspect that they just don't care anyway. I think that most people who watch Ben Shapiro, I think most people don't watch Ben Shapiro. People that do have him on, though, I think they just sort of listen to him in the background and don't even really pay attention to what he says. That's what I really think. But I also think that his numbers are inflated and all that, and he doesn't really make as much, and a lot of his money comes from fucking right-wing billionaire donors and shit. That's what I suspect. I don't know. Maybe I should look into it. I should make those accusations without any proof. But still, how can anybody listen to this guy with the stupidest fucking takes of all time and think that this dude is smart. Like, all it takes, you just have to like examine, like just do a halfway cursory examination of what the man says, and it's like it falls apart just on the fundamental level. So fucking idiotic.
that mommy dolls are bad and insufficient. But then they criticize Mattel for discontinuing a mommy doll named Midge. Right? Midge is the pregnant doll and was discontinued. They're like, that's bad. But hold on, you just said that dolls about motherhood are bad. But then this one, don't look for any sort of logical coherence.
No, they don't criticize Mattel for saying that that one was bad. It's not criticized. The Midge doll is not criticized. It's just sort of made fun of because it's a dumb idea. The idea that, oh, here's a pregnant Barbie, kind of inappropriate. The Midge doll was a real thing, by the way. It was like a pregnant doll that had like a baby inside of it, and you could pull it out. And I guess it's a good idea if you're trying to teach your kid about the birds and the bees or something. But as a mass market sort of toy for young girls, it didn't sell very well. And so they sort of make fun of it. They make fun of the Midge. They didn't say that by extension, all dolls that have to do with role-playing as a mommy is bad. They didn't say that at all, and only a fucking idiot would get that message from that.
There's a Citizens United reference. They say all of the members of the Barbie Supreme Court are women. And then they are speaking out about Citizens United. The corporations are not people. It's literally a Citizens United reference. Who is the audience for this? Who is the 7-year-old girl who's like, yes, I do have a very informed perspective on the Citizens United decision. And then they say,
yeah, it's called social commentary, you fucking idiot. Social commentary, because the movie, once again, is not just made for little girls. See, I know this is also a foreign concept to Ben Shapiro, that your movie about fantasy stuff, because that's what this movie is, it's a fantasy, right, can also be informative. Movies are not just always what they are on the outside of the tin. Star Wars is not always just about space wizards and explosions and spaceships and Wookiees, right? Indiana Jones isn't always just about running away from giant rocks and like dodging traps and stuff like that. You know, the Avengers is not always just about beating up supervillains or whatever. Spider-Man is like, no, it's called symbolism. Symbolism and allegory. This is how you can teach people and you can inform people and actually have something to say about stuff. Even in a movie that has fantasy elements in it. Once again, start using Starship Troopers as a good example because it's a very heavy-handed example. It's a very anti-fascist movie. In Starship Troopers, the human beings are the villains. It's a movie about how even normal, ordinary, good people can be used as tools for a fascist regime. That's what the movie's about. The guy, Rico, in the movie, is your typical action star hero. Blonde hair, blue-eyed, corn-fed kind of big dude who works out. He's a sports star. You know, they play this sort of weird rugby, football, basketball kind of sport in that movie. And he's like the captain of the high school team, you know, whatever the name of the sport is, right? It's like some kind of fictional roughhouse sort of football, American football kind of sport, rugby kind of thing. You know, he's sort of like the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, typical action hero guy. And he goes off to get revenge because the evil bug aliens, they blew up his hometown, and so he's going to go kick some ass. And it's like every action movie from the 80s, except the human beings are wearing literal Nazi uniforms. That's what it is. And throughout the entire thing, there's this propaganda coming up. You can stop the bug menace. And they never straight out say it. In fact, there was a scene where they describe the type of fascist regime that actually runs the human world. They describe it. They cut that scene out. So they don't actually say it, but they just hint to it. Service guarantees citizenship. So they hint that not everybody is equal in this society. That we're only seeing the good parts. We're only seeing the the people who are citizens who get to go off and actually have rights. We're not seeing the people who aren't citizens. We're not seeing the subclasses, right? And how do you become a full citizen? How do you get full rights? You go off and you commit genocide against another race who are in the movie defending themselves. Because human beings in the movie keep incursions. They keep violating their territory. Right? It even says it in the movie that, missionaries and shit go off and violate the bug territory, and so the bugs have had enough, and so they fight back. So really, it's a defensive war. The bugs are justified in attacking Earth in that movie. The human beings are the aggressors. They're the bad guys in that. And it goes on through other movies. Even in that one, they say, there's a line where a guy says, one day, someone who looks like me is going to kill every single one of your race. Before the brain bug basically penetrates his skull and sucks his brain out and kills him. One of the guys actually says that. It wears the symbolism on its sleeve. It's a movie about soldiers blowing stuff up and going pew 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 and fighting giant bug monsters. And the subtext, the allegory, the symbolism is telling us that fascism is bad. That's what an actually good written, and that movie was like a summer blockbuster movie. It's not like, usually when you think, oh, these are movies that teach you shit, blah, 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 blah. They're boring, dry, whatever. Oppenheimer kind of things, whatever, fuck, right? Documentaries or some shit like that. It's like, no, this is a movie with explosions and blood and guts and people doing backflips and machine guns and all that shit. And it has a message, right? And the thing is, you don't even really notice it unless you're looking for it. That's the hallmark of a well-written movie. The same thing as in Barbie. In Barbie, it's a little more in your face about it. But you know what? It's not preachy. It doesn't make anybody feel bad for being a mother or for having conservative values. It does it in such a way, because that's the thing about feminism, folks, is that you have a choice whether you want to be a mother and raise a family or not. That's the point of feminism, is that you can choose this. You can choose to do whatever you want. That's the whole point of Barbie. This is why Barbie traditionally has had dolls where Barbie takes care of babies, where Barbie cooks in a kitchen. There's Barbie dolls for all of that stuff too, for very conservative gender roles. There are. And Barbie can also be a policewoman. Barbie can also be an astronaut. Barbie can also be a doctor. Barbie can also be a businesswoman. Barbie can be a rock star. Barbie can be whatever. She can be the president. She can be a judge. She can be anything. That's the point behind feminism, is that if you're a woman, you're not limited to what the man says you have to do, to what the patriarchy says you have to do. You can do whatever you want. We girls can do anything. Right, Barbie? Ben Shapiro, once again, does not know this because he's a moron.
Say that logic and feeling at the same time, it doesn't diminish us. It proves that we are more than, right? It's all propagandistic. And then it sets up the dichotomy. The dichotomy is that men and women are in complete and utter contradistinction in terms of their roles. So women only exist if they are completely free of men, and men only exist if they are completely free of women. And the problem is set up for Ken, is that Ken is dependent on Barbie, right? Because Ken is kind of secondary. And we also set up at the very beginning that Barbie doesn't like Ken. She finds Ken annoying. She finds Ken ridiculous, which, again, is sort of against the concept of Ken and Barbie.
Once again, he doesn't understand. He just completely misunderstands the entire point of the movie. It's not that men can and women cannot get along. That is not the message of the movie. The message of the movie is that men and women are not equal when it comes to society. Society does not treat men and women equally. That's the point of the movie. The point of the movie is that women are not treated equally to men in the real world. And in Barbie land, men are not treated equal to women. The women are in charge of everything. And in the real world, it's not like that. And so it's a culture shock to Barbie. Barbie comes out to the real world thinking that, because the Barbies, like I said before, the Barbies think that they solved gender inequality. and that they solved all of these problems by telling little girls that they can do anything. And then they find out in real life it's not like that. And that's the whole point behind it. He's fundamentally misunderstanding what the movie. Does he really not understand this? It's not that hard to understand. That's the thing about the movie. It's written in such a way that a child could understand it. If your 8-year-old girl, your 8-year-old child could pick up on this subtext. So is the fact that Ben Shapiro was not able to pick up on this symbolism, on this subtext, does he really not get it? Is he really that fucking stupid that he can't decipher a message that was literally written for a child? Like, well, I won't say written for a child, but written in such a way that a child can understand. Does he really not understand that? I mean, I don't know. I think so. I think he really might be just that fucking dumb.
But the basic idea is that Barbie is an independent woman and Ken is completely superfluous. We then go to the beach, and there's a scene on the beach where
No, that is also not correct either. So the entire point, right, is that it's a reversal of what you see in a typical Hollywood movie. In pretty much any given movie that has a male lead and a female, love interest, the entire point of the female love interest is to just revolve around the male. And it's like that in pretty much every action movie made in the last 35 years. It's like that in pretty much any movie where the man is like the main character. He'll have a girlfriend or a wife or a girl that he's trying to get with or whatever. And the entire reason, the only thing that defines the female love interest is that she's a love interest. And she doesn't do anything else. She doesn't have any important job. She might be let's take a typical fucking action movie. Go watch any action movie that stars Chuck Norris or Steven Seagal or fucking Van Damme or Arnold Schwarzenegger, any kind of typical bullshit shoot 'em up action movie from the last 40 years. And this is the dynamic you're going to find. Man is in charge, man does all this shit, whatever. Female love interest is just there to be the love interest, the arm candy for the man. And to give him a reason to fight for something. So she can either get kidnapped or get threatened or anything like that. All of these goddamn movies are like this. Die Hard, Commando, fucking, every single fucking one. Rambo, all of them. They're all, any dumb fucking movie like this. And that's what this is making fun of. It's making fun of that because it's subverting it. It's subverting it. Ken's only existence to live is to be Barbie's love interest. He doesn't have any other defining qualities. He doesn't have a job. He doesn't have a house. They even answer that. They go, well, where do the Kens go at night? And they don't answer it. They're shoving it in your face that this is what they're making fun of. It can't be any more fucking blatant. I don't understand how he's not picking up on this. The idea that Ken is defined by Barbie, the same way that every female supporting actress in every fucking movie that comes out is defined by the male lead. How does he not understand this shit? Ben Shapiro is a fucking moron. Moving on.
Kens are supposed to be the lifeguards and the ladies are playing on the beach. And we get a series of gay masturbation jokes. Again, it's an audience for children. They're talking about beaching each other off. Right? There's a line where Ken says to another one of the Kens, I'm going to beat you off. Get it? You get it? Because it's like beat you off, but beat you off. And then they repeat that no less than 4 or 5 times in the span of 45 seconds.
If I wasn't severely injured, I would beat you off right now, Ken.
I'll beat you off with you any day, Ken. Anyone who wants to beat him off has to beat me off.
Yeah, okay, well, maybe this joke was overused, but they literally just say it once. But here's the other thing, though. During this sequence, the theater was roaring in laughter. The theater was roaring in laughter. People were going nuts over this sequence. So, yeah, okay, it's a potty joke, right? Toilet humor is funny. Why do you think every fucking movie ever made has fart and dick jokes in them? Right? Has crass jokes, I'll put it that way. Why does every movie ever made have crass jokes? Even fucking Star Wars has fart jokes in it. You know, Episode 1. Weird monster thing farts in Jar Jar's face. It's funny. Crass jokes are funny. So why is Ben Shapiro... I mean, I guess because what? Because he's a religious conservative, so you're not allowed to, like, make any reference to anything having to do with sex at all? I mean, is that why he doesn't like it? Because it's too sexy? Because the fact that, like, you know, a joke about masturbation is just over the line for him? Here's another thing you guys might not, he might not pick up, I won't say you guys, but that he's not picking up, is that an 8-year-old child will not get that joke. An 8-year-old kid who watches this movie is going to see, I'll beat you off, and will not understand what that means, and will probably not even remember it when they go home at night. An 8-year-old kid watching this probably not even going to have any idea what it was. It's going to go right over their heads. So what's the problem anyway? What, it's inappropriate? Like, why? Why is that inappropriate? And what's so wrong about there being a masturbation joke in a kid's movie anyway? Especially when the kids aren't even going to fucking understand it. Teenagers, if you're 12 or whatever, yeah, okay, 12, 13, 14, you may understand it. But you know what? By that point, I got news for you kids. By that point, your children are already masturbating. So anybody who knows what this joke is already doing it. And for you religious conservatives out there who are in denial over the fact that your children have sexual drives, I'm sorry to break it to you, but your children have sexual drives. And it's not grooming or exploitive in any way to acknowledge that. It's not. You know, it's reality. Ben Shapiro, of course, is going to sit here and say, oh, it's inappropriate, whatever. Because, once again, he's a religious conservative. And religious conservatives, every single thing that has to do with sex is instantly verboten. Because, ultimately, religious conservatives are a bunch of fucking prudes who want to just ban everything and are against sex because it, like, I don't know, makes you get possessed by demons or some shit. Or whatever. Whatever fucking reason why. So, yeah, I guess he would make a big fucking, like, deal over the beat you off joke. I guess he would go nuts over that. It makes perfect sense.
First, I will beat both of you off at the same time.
Both of us off? Nobody's gonna beat anyone off.
Bazinga.
Because it's just such a great gay masturbation joke. You gotta go for it. I mean, what else will the 7-year-old girls in the audience think if you don't go for the gay masturbation joke on the beach? Clearly.
Why does that have to be gay? I mean, women masturbate too. I mean, because it's like, I guess it's because, like, the men are talking about beating each other off. I guess. I mean, all I gotta say is that if there's a masturbation joke, it's not automatically gay. Right? I mean, I guess you could call it a hand job joke. Then that would be gay. But also, any kid that would understand that, any teen, you know, they're not going to understand it till they're at least in their junior high school and they're teenagers. And by that point, they already know what hand jobs are. They already know what sex is. Especially nowadays, when any kid can just take the phone out of their pocket and look up all of the explicit photos and videos in the entire world. So I don't really see how sheltering children from a masturbation joke is going to change anything or anybody. I mean, I'm sorry to tell you that, any of you out there that have children, if you didn't know that already, but your kid watches porn. They do. Do you have a computer in the house? Does your kid have a phone? Then they watch porn. Sorry to let you know that. If you didn't know that, now you know. There's no putting that genie back in the bottle. So, I don't see how this is inappropriate. I mean, I guess for like the 2% of people that just like homeschool their kids and have no internet access. Right. And are afraid that masturbation is a gateway to like demon possession or some shit. I guess for them, maybe it's inappropriate. For everybody else in the fucking world, who the fuck cares?
Clearly. We get black female President Barbie because this is, of course, the greatest of all possible worlds. So Kamala Harris, the Barbie version, is the president of the United States.
Black film. I like how immediately he goes to like Kamala Harris with that. Is it really inconceivable, folks, that a black woman may be president one day? I mean, you know, Ben Shapiro does a good job of hiding racism, but let's not forget that he's a fucking racist. He is. He's fucking racist. You know, why did you instantly think Kamala Harris when there's a black female president? Like, why? You know why? Because being the president is a man's job. And it's a president for white men. That's what Ben Shapiro thinks. That Ben Shapiro thinks in his head that only white men are allowed to be president. And so seeing a black woman as a president means that there must be some kind of insidious fucking conspiracy behind it or whatever to brainwash people, because obviously that can't be the case. That's what he's fucking thinking, right? I think sometimes we attribute motives to conservatives and Republicans sometimes. I think we on the left are in denial sometimes about how fucking stupid these people are. And so we think in our heads, oh, they must have some kind of ulterior motive. Oh, they must be lying about this or that. You know, they must be thinking some kind of game plan in order to, like, you know, draw more people over to their side. Or he's only saying this because it's appealing to this demographic or whatever. I think we think this, and we don't. I think it's because we're in denial over the fact that these people are just morons. And Ben Shapiro is just a moron. And he really isn't thinking 17 steps ahead on some master game plan in order to spread his propaganda around. He really is just a crass fucking idiot who just doesn't get shit and doesn't understand shit because he's fucking stupid. Anyway, folks, we only got 10 minutes through this thing. I would like to stay and watch the entire thing. But even going through it, you know what it is? You know what the problem is that I just talk too much. That's the problem. I understand this. People have told me this too. People who are watching my videos were always saying, hey, dude, you need to shut the fuck up sometimes. And it's like, you know what? I completely understand and I accept this criticism. And I am sorry that I talk too much. What can I say? This is the whole reason why I make videos, is because I like talking. But you know what? Maybe we'll come back to it later, because I want to watch the rest of this, because if I can't even get through 10 minutes of this fucking idiot, if I can't even get through that, like, there must be more nuggets in the remaining 30 minutes of his video that maybe we'll come back to it for another stream. I don't know. Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.